For Globe 4, we're going to analyze the 4 different nations that made it here, their path to get here, kind of their composition, their strengths and weaknesses, and then hopefully give you some pointers and tips on how to cheer for them. If you don't know about this cheer button, here it is in the top right corner. You can basically bet up to 500 gold, a maximum of 500 gold on any nation that you choose. And then if you win, you basically can double those earnings. You get back 1,500 if you bet 500. If you lose, you only lose up to the amount that you bet. Anyone in Globe 4 can bet on this using this cheer function. If you're not in Globe 4, you may not care about this. However, you can still watch it because it hopefully gives you some pointers in terms of opponent research as well as some fun tips. I'm going to do this analysis with 3 different tables for these 4 worlds. First of all, congratulations to these 4 worlds for making it here. Here, I just wanted to show kind of the merger status when they merged, and then who was their most recent opponent in the void that just happened last week. Interestingly enough, you'll see that 273 actually faced 286 and won. I don't have the results, but I do know that they were the only one, 273 was the only one that actually won their void last week. In this next table, I wanted to show something similar to what I did for the 16 semifinalists analysis that I did for Globe 4. This is very similar to that. Here I wanted to show how many T11 plus cities that each world has, and then who are the monsters, and if they have monsters. Monsters were defined as 75 million BP plus 7.5 million officer strength. I will actually analyze the T11 cities and numbers and composition even in more detailed in the next table. But let's quickly take a look at just from these numbers. You can see that 286 really has the lowest number of T11 cities at 25. And then 273 has the most at 73. This is no surprise for 286 because it is not a merged nation. In the bottom table here, that first column is the number 1 alliance BP. And that is important because it gives you an idea of the total combat power. And BP is really important in Global Conquest because it just tells you how many fleets and more troops that they can bring to the table. The next column is the top 3 BP of the top 3 alliance BP. And that's important because it tells you how many additional ranks to fill that maximum capacity of 250 players does each alliance, or each nation rather, bring into the table. And finally, the last 2 columns are the average BP of the top 10 players and the average officer strength of the top 10 players. And in green, you'll see basically the highest nation, and in yellow is the lowest nation amongst these. Some of the takeaways from these tables are that, there is a lot of parity, and it's really going to be difficult to predict who's going to win this. So we're going to do some of the additional analysis to take a, stab at predicting that. I did want to show at least some of the top players and some of the top alliances. So let's take a look at each nation and then provide some comments on each. Let's start with 270, and here you can see Jackie just dominating the boards. So we'll start off with officer ranking. And here you can see Jackie is definitely one of the monsters with almost 10 million officer power. And if you look at his BP, you'll see that he also has above the 75 million threshold that I was saying at 89. He actually went down a little bit in the void. They had a tough void against 225, which they did lose. Here you can see that, 270 is a merged nation, and it has a lot of strength. If you look at the alliances, you can see that the top alliance, SFA, they placed in top 16 in Duel of Dominance. You can see by the statue. And then one of the challenges that 270 will have is, if you look down this list here, there is a lot of alliances at this 1 billion mark. And so a lot of the BP of this world is spread across all these alliances. So in order for 270 to succeed, they will really need to take the top fighters into the top two alliances, because really, it is good for securing the um, energy sources. But if you want to battle in the center, in order to win it, you have to battle in the center. In order to win at the center, you're going to need the maximum strength of players in fewer alliances, preferably, top one alliance. Here in the city ranking, the city ranking really is telling, because it gives you a good idea. T12 troops will usually beat T11, and T11 will usually beat T10. So here you can see that they have two monsters in Jackie and Gabriel, and then they run pretty deep, because this is a merged world, this is a stable world, and they have 34s all the way up to 68. So there's 68 cities that have 34. One of the challenges you'll notice is that, and I have a table that talks about this in a second, is that a lot of these are spread across multiple alliances. So that will be something that will need extra organization if 270 is to win this, for them to kind of gather all the troops and rally around it, which is really difficult to do in short notice, if the world isn't already aligned. Next, we'll look at 273, and this is a monster of a world. Here you can see that they have several high BP players, but really just one monster in the definition that I set of 75 million. And here, let's go ahead and start with the officer ranking. Here you can see, lots of strength here. MKI is really the one that I put in the monster category, but they have pretty strong depth all the way through. So you can see that, even the top 30 are all of these are above 3 million. So there's a lot of depth in this, and that's one of the really strong attributes of 270. So let's take a look at the power ranking. So here you can see in the alliances, BAT is a formidable alliance led by Devil. They placed in top 4 of Duel of Dominance. And then you can see they have a good supporting cast in GJA and GDC. One additional strength of 273 is, they have a lot of experience. You can just see it by the kill count. You can see Dami here, who actually leads the entire globe 4 in kill count. And then you can just see down the board, there is a lot of killing going on. They had some, internal battles and experiences that have made them, well experienced and strong. And here you can see, Rambo. If they have Rambo, they have to win, right? So shout out to Rambo. He asked me to feature him in one of my YouTube videos. So there you go. Next, we'll look at World 286. Which is, the underdogs, in the sense that they're an unmerged world, and is my, is the one I'm cheering for in terms of just moral support, coming from another unmerged world. But in terms of my prediction, I don't know if they can make it, just based on, stats alone. However, you shouldn't count them out, because they have some amazing organization in terms of making it thus far. And of course, they have 2 monsters. And here you can see this is Gaja and Seal. So let's take a look at their power ranking. You can see here 157 and 130 million BP, as well as more telling is their officer strength rank. And also Seal is an MRA player, so he is a monster. So these 2 monsters, is anybody in Globe 4 probably knows them, and they have some great depth. So it's they beat 2 other merged worlds to get here. So don't discount them, and they have some awesome organization and leadership. One thing that I did want to highlight here is that they are a fighting machine. You can see that this is a model world in terms of accumulating all of your strength into the top 2 alliances here in Ice and Ace, and that is a telling story, and so they will be a challenge. Also wanted to give a shout out to Iron Horse, who is a friend of mine and I chat with quite a bit, and I wish him good luck. And last but not least is 293, you know, which is led by Ayataka. He is the most BP player in the nation. You can see here 232. No one's quite close, even not even Gaja in terms of him having 150. And he had a monster of a void performance. This was a monster battle between 293 and 309, and 293 just came short, but not short of efforts from Ayataka with almost 3 billion individual points. So massive, massive X factor. Here are the top alliances, and the famous Orc alliance is the strongest or most BP alliance of all the alliances so far in the finals. And then they're supported by Fun and then WMW, as well as some of these other alliances. One of their challenges is going to be trying to get the top players into the top 2 or 3. Looking at officer powers, you can see by far the strongest officer power as well as total BP is Ayataka. And of course, there is Many Star. Apologies for bad pronunciation. Many Star, I think, was Arthas before, and so they have 2 monsters, monster status, and so this will be a challenging world. One thing to keep in mind is that they just had a recent merger, so there's a lot of still assimilation that needs to happen, so they're at a slight disadvantage. Some of the other merged worlds have had theirs in September and are already in a stable state. Okay, so let's come back to my second table, and this one is a telling story, I think. So here, essentially what I've done is I've taken that same concept of focusing on T11 plus cities, so 34 and above cities, and here you can see that 270 has 68, 273 has the most with 73. But it's also important to know where those are. Some of these cities actually, some people have quit, so there's some dead cities too. I think in 270 there's 2 dead cities, and you can see clearly here that the story is that there is a lot of different alliances with a lot of different strengths, and or sorry, a lot of different T11 plus cities in 270. And that will be a challenge that they need to overcome. How can you get the players from those into the top 2 alliances for Global Conquest? Now, in comparison, 273 is pretty well aligned, and this is amazing alignment that you can see that almost all of their C34 and aboves are in the top 3 alliances, and this is partly why they are in first place, why they did win last time, and that experience you can't discount. So really good alignment here in BAT and the next 2 supporting alliances. 286, you'll see also really good alignment, that they have the 2 alliances, but what they lack is they don't lack the monsters. They have the 2 monsters, but what they just lack is the sheer numbers of it. So it's going to be tough to win fights against a fully loaded T11 fighting with T10s. And then finally, and by T11s I mean cannons and tanks. I'm not counting T11 gunners and axemen. 293, here you can see is also where you'll notice that there is some misalignment, in the sense that there is 7 players in 5 different alliances, but they do have good alignment in their top alliance of Orc, so they're going to be a formidable foe. My final table really analyzes not so much the points that each alliance scored, and this is what they did in the semifinals, but the telling story here is the number of participants. So in this second bottom table here, I really wanted to highlight that the number of participants and how you split the rounds is an excellent strategy, as well as excellent way to win Global Conquest. Here you can see that this is also where 273 stands out. They were able to evenly almost put about 210 on average in every single round, and this is going to be critical to winning. Here you can see this is one area where 293 struggles, is that they have a lot of players in round 2 at 237, but they struggle in round 1 and 3. Now, This is, you should discount this and take it with a grain of salt, because this is while Duel of Dominance was ongoing, and there was a lot of disincentives to switch alliances. I know we didn't when we did the semifinals. So to keep that in mind, that means all of this can be fixed. It can really be anyone's game, but naturally alignment that is already there and present in terms of the organization, the leadership, it seems like 273 did a good job. It's a lot of work to try to find out who's going to play what round, from what alliance, and getting those top players in. 270, you can see they have a lot of participants, again, a lot in round two, and these time zones really does give a disadvantage, especially that round three, to the Asian heavy alliances. So that is one thing that it puts a natural disadvantage for 293 as well as 270. You can see there's a heavy focus on round two. It really is whoever's going to win round three is going to have a good chance. So what does this mean from all my analysis? Based on these two tables here of the T11 really focus at 273 and in the top alliances, it really seems like, and you might come back and say, well, this was a no-brainer. You didn't need to do any of this analysis to tell me that. 273 won last time. They seem to have the most points already going into the semifinals, and they should win. But remember, the points are misleading because it depends on your strength of opponent. However, experience definitely does count. It's the alignment, it's the number of players per round, as well as the alignment of those strong cities in the organization. That is, if I had to bet, I would say 273 has the highest chance of winning this. Now, discount that by, it all depends on how many speeds you're going to be spending, how many times you're going to be healing. And one thing to keep in mind is that I used to think that the tower that has the red plus was a HP tower. And it's not. It's actually just a healing speed tower. So you want to do your heals while you have possession of that HP tower or healing tower with the red plus. Hopefully this helped in terms of who you should root for and cheer, as well as hopefully for the actual participants. It gives you some pointers on some of the things that you can do and bring to the table in terms of winning. I wish everybody great luck. Mad respect to all of these worlds for getting here. Some of them we have faced in the past, and so I have lots of respect for all of the leaders and the alliances there. So I will hopefully try to join with my Spy City to just keep track and see how everybody is doing. Good luck and farewell.